Well, back to the game that started this series. One quick thing to mention, most of the video will be muted. I'll have to put music over it because the mic was on and I had some AEW stuff playing on my phone at the time, so I can't have that playing. So yeah, back in that first video, I didn't really talk about it. I just had gameplay going just to show those initial 3 missions because at the time, there was nothing else because of how BS the game is. So much fake challenge nonsense going. There was just no videos of how to beat those stages. They were just unbeatable unless you went through so much repetition and used the best weapons at the time. But even then, that's after saving up tokens from doing missions over and over and dying over and over. Such a shame because the immersion is great and still is. And now before this update, I played it, I think it was a year ago. That was when difficulties were added. But the rookie difficulty didn't change anything. You still lose a life after getting shot just once. Just a single time. You still had to save up tokens for laser pointers and stuff, which, yeah, those weren't permanent unlocks. The only permanent unlocks were certain pistols. The riot shield was also added, and oh man, I'll get back to that. I come back to the game again and notice that it's listed as Crisis Brigade 2 Reloaded. So I figured there must be bigger updates this time. There are more missions, time trials and challenges, and a few new weapons. But the fake challenge is still there. The main problem with this game is still there, instead of there being a health bar or unlimited continues. The devs, or at least one of the devs on their Twitter, even said there's some fixes. But the game is still BS. Heck, I got a response from that developer. So you know what? I gave the game another chance. The problems are still there. I just don't get what the developers were thinking. If they wanted to replicate those arcade shooters like Time Crisis, Terminator Salvation, which somehow never got a console port, the Jurassic Park arcade shooter, you failed. You failed by pulling this fake challenge BS to lazily make us replay the game over and over. Those arcade shooters, for starters, didn't limit us to just a single continue, and even then, make us save up tokens first. Now, granted, those games you really restarted over and over depending on how many quarters you had. But for all intents and purposes, for those old arcade games, you could just restart again and again as you wanted. But here, you die once, and you gotta spend tokens for a single continue. And look at the price for it. I forgot how crazy it was, so you would have to save up tons of tokens so you'd have a lot of continues. These developers still haven't nerfed the enemy's damage, or still haven't patched in a health bar, or still haven't patched in unlimited continues. Like seriously, why are there no unlimited continues in this? Even freaking NES games had unlimited continues. Well, most of them. And again, rookie difficulty still means nothing. But what do? Add that lazy riot shield. I just can't believe that. So instead of doing those changes, you put in this riot shield so we can just defend ourselves from all the damage. But worse, there's no window on the freaking thing. Like riot shields in Call of Duty. So you can't see through that with your shield up. You gotta stick your head out a little bit, just enough, so you can see who you're shooting. But the enemies can still hit you with pixel perfect accuracy, and you'll see that later on in this video. The bosses. Christ, the bosses are still insane damage sponges, and you'll see how crazy they get at the very end of this video, where I had the riot shield, and those AI teammates are still crap. It's like they really intended this for co-op. But remember, when this game first came out, co-op wasn't there. It took them, shoot, I don't know, I think it took them a year or two to finally patch that in. And the worst part about all of this is that this game is a freaking sequel to something. I do not want to know how much of a nightmare the first game is. And before anyone asks, before I used the Riot Shield, it was better to play this with just one PS Move controller, so you can really hold the gun as if you're, holding and aiming with an actual gun. I almost forgot. It's a shame the PlayStation aim controller isn't great for this. I mean, it works, but remember, because of these unlocks, because of the tokens, you can't use the best assault rifle early on. So it's better off to use the pistol. Insane behind the scene. And that waiting part still sucks too. The enemies are shooting at you right away, but you can't shoot back until after a few seconds. You saw that mess? You'll see it again. If I didn't have the riot shield, I never would have beaten that mission. Absolute ridiculous nonsense. How are we supposed to beat that without the riot shield? They gotta put in Dirty Harry's gun. Like I said in the title of that first F-Fake challenge video, great emergent but held back by lazy fake challenge.